It's a new era for the North Texas Mean Green as Seth Litrell is out. Now enter Eric Morris, a very talented offensive mind, Washington State incarnate word, some of his former destinations. He has set records. He's put together some very good offenses and takes over a North Texas program that just made the Conference USA Championship last season. However, this is a team that, maybe a little bit of a pun intended, enters some greener pastures in the American Athletic Conference. So, will Eric Morris in his first season as the Mean Green head coach be able to compete and get into an American Athletic Championship game? Or is Eric Morris and the Mean Green going to need some time to figure out things with this new system? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. Previewing and predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer is what I'm doing, which means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. But there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video, and if you guys are willing and able, you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, of course, subscribing, anything else that you think will help me support my channel. Let's talk about North Texas in 2023. It's a new era for the Mean Green. Of course, as I just said, Seth Litrell is out. Took this team to a Conference USA title last year, but due to subpar performances in bowl games and just all around, I believe he only had a 500 record with this program. They brought in Eric Morris to be that new head coach. Hey, how do we do preview predictions around here? Well, we're going to go through a roster overview and look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Mean Green football schedule, and we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So let's talk about North Texas football here in 2023. The quarterback position is going to look different for North Texas this season as you lose a really good player in Austin Aune. Had 3,547 yards last season. Couple that, I should say, with 33 touchdowns, 15 interceptions last year, though, and only a 56% completion percentage. Aune definitely has some areas of his game to improve, but he's taken his talents to the NFL. And then Grant Gunnell has transferred out of this program. So who are the starting options for North Texas this season? Well, you got a couple coming back in Jace Reuter and Stone Earl, but there's a pretty significant transfer coming into this program, at least I think maybe not significant, maybe an underrated transfer, you would say, but Chandler Rogers, I believe, will be that starting quarterback option. He's around 6 foot, 200 pounds, coming over from the Warhawks of University of Louisiana Monroe, was pretty solid during his time in the Sun Belt Conference, and I think will be a solid starter for this North Texas team. What does he have to work with around him? Well, it's a rushing attack that should be second to none in the American Conference and maybe overlooked as one of the better running back rooms across the entire nation, as you have a lot of talent coming back. Your top 4 leading rushers from last year all come back. And apologies for any mispronunciations I say during this video. There probably will be one right here. Io Adai, Ika Ragsdale, Oscar Adaway, and Isaiah Johnson in order were your top 4 leading rushers from last season. Now, again, there may be some mix and matching. I think Ragsdale going to end up being that feature back for this team. He did have more carries than Adai last year. That'll probably continue in 2023, but this is a great list of running backs, and this Mean Green rushing attack should be pretty dominant this season. When you take a look at the wide receiver room, though, man, they lose a huge wide receiver to this team from last season in Jair Shorter. The deep ball threat had 23 catches last year for 628 yards and more than doubled anyone on the team with 11 touchdowns last season. He has transferred over to Auburn. That's a huge loss in the wide receiver room for this Mean Green program. However, there is a lot of talent that is returning to this team, such as your leading receiver, led the team in catches last year, 40 catches, 676 yards, and a lone touchdown for Roderick Burns. You also have Jamori Macklin, Damon Ward, and Jordan Smart returning for this program as well. Should all be pretty solid options. Each of them had at least over 300 receiving yards last season. And when you take a look, well, hey, you're getting some transfers coming over to this program as well. Trey Cleveland is coming over from Texas Tech, and then you're getting another one in Blair Conwright that comes over from TCU. So a couple Power 5 transfers in for this program. In the tight end room, well, you do lose some solid options here as well. Your 3rd and 4th leading receivers from last year in Varkey's Gums and Jake Roberts have both left the program, but you do return a guy by the name of Christian Lee, who should be that featured tight end, although there was not another tight end that even had a catch for the Mean Green last season, so maybe a tiny bit of an unknown. Offensive line, Manasseh Mose and Cole Brown are gone, but Fabici Nwawu, Gabe Blair, and Jet Duncan all come back on the offensive line, among others Mean Green fans, help me out with that offensive line if you would, please. Defensively, what can we expect from this Mean Green defense? Well, let's start out with what we usually do, the defensive line. Tom Trebe and Cam Robertson are two names that are going to be gone. Cam Robertson, 15 tackles and 1 sack last season. Trebe was a top 15 tackler, I believe 12th or 13th, somewhere around there, but had 38 tackles, 2.5 sacks for this team last season. Solid production on the defensive line is leaving this North Texas team. However, oh boy, there's a lot coming back. We'll start out with the bottom line, as I do think they are the better players. Mason Richards, Roderick Brown, and Fatafehi Vilea. They all come back. Richards had 7.5 sacks last year, was the team's 4th leading tackler. Roderick Brown had 4 sacks last season. And then you also get some more returners in Cadron Johnson and Cortland Rasaw as well that returned to this defensive line that I think could be pretty good here in 2023. In the linebacking room, okay, this is where you start to take some bigger hits. Your 2 leading tacklers last year, both of them in the triple digits, KD Davis and Larry Nixon, are both gone, each of them with a sack last season as well. Sean Thomas Faulkner will also leave. That's actually your top 3 leading tacklers from last season, and Faulkner had 87 of them last season. However, the talent that does return in this linebacking room, Kevin Wood, Jordan Brown, Sifa Leota, and Jalen Smith are going to be some names that'll highlight the linebacking group this season. And again, still some pretty solid talent in the linebacking room for North Texas, even with all they lost. And then taking a look at the defensive back room, well, you got some big losses here as well as Quinn Whitlock, and Deshaun Gaddy are 2 names that are going to be leaving. Whitlock, 65 tackles, 4 pass defended. Gaddy, 62 tackles, 12 passes defended last season. Oh, and then also Keelan Crosby leaves this team as well. Had 26 tackles for the team last year. But Logan Wilson, hey, he comes back. 5 pass defended, 2 interceptions last season. Your biggest get back in the defensive back room is Ridge Tejada, 15 passes defended, 3 interceptions, including a very long pick 6. Lorenzo Thompson also comes back, as well as getting a transfer coming over in Phillip Hill. And he's coming over by way of UNLV, should fit in nicely to this Mean Green secondary. Of course, I've mentioned his name before. Your head coach is Eric Morris. The offensive coordinator is Jordan Davis, and defensive coordinator is Matt Capone. As we'll take a look at the Mean Green football schedule for 2023, any game you see in home is underlined, and any game on the road is in italics or that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think North Texas is going to win pretty easily. Any game in yellow is a game where, hey, I think the other team is going to put up quite a fight, maybe a back-and-forth type game. But the Mean Green will still walk away with the dub, and red is a loss. This is a very interesting non-conference schedule for North Texas as you start out week 1 against Cal. And Cal, I think, is going to be a very talented football team this year. I think there's a lot of good talent on that team. I'm going to say North Texas loses this game. I think offensively, defensively, there are a lot of very good pieces for Cal. The only interesting thing with Cal, not that it matters in this discussion, is I do have Cal beating North Texas. I think it'll take Eric Morris maybe a little bit of time to get going and for all the transfers and everything to kind of settle in. So that's why I think Cal is going to be able to win. But Cal, a team with a very, very talented roster, they just may end up falling to all the talent that is in the Pac-12 conference this year. But that's a conversation that I have in my Pac-12 videos that are up on the channel if you're interested in those. But Cal, do think going to be a team that beats North Texas this season. On the road to FIU, I think it'll be an easy win for North Texas. Not a team that I see being able to compete to a high level with North Texas. So I see the Panthers going down to the Mean Green. But now this is a very interesting game right here. On the road against Louisiana Tech. That is a Tech team this season that I think is going to be a fairly solid team. When I go ahead and look at that Louisiana Tech team, I do believe Hank Bachmeier is coming in at quarterback. There's a lot of very talented options there on that team, offensively, defensively. I just think North Texas is going to be able to pull this one out on the road. I see them losing 1 non-conference game, maybe not 2. Maybe they beat Cal and lose to Louisiana Tech. You can absolutely flip those. And while I think the Bulldogs are going to be, again, a very, very talented team this season, I do not think that they will get past North Texas. I just think they'll come up a little bit shy in the Mean Green, especially on terms of what I think that defensive front can do this year. Will win that game. Abilene Christian should be an easy win for North Texas. And then you go on the road against Navy and I think pull out a win here as well. And when you take a look at Navy, a team that I think is going to improve in the ranks of the American Athletic Conference this season, and a team that I think can give a lot of these teams in the American a good run for their money. They got a new head coach coming in there, could be a new system as well. However, I do believe that Navy may be a year or two away from really being able to take that next jump, take that next step, and that means competing with teams like North Texas. I just don't think it's going to happen this season. You got a Week 7 game against Temple here that I think is going to be very tricky for this Mean Green team. This is a Temple offense that I think is going to be pretty good. Now, obviously, that defense, while it does lose some pieces, does need to improve from last season, as does that offensive line, in order to keep E.J. Warner, who is reigning American Conference newcomer of the year, I believe as a freshman or true freshman last season, was very, very good for that Temple offense. He returns a lot of weapons around him, and if that defense can improve, watch out for Temple this year. I still think, regardless, that defense does get better, and this is the Temple team that does take a jump, does make that next step, but I ultimately do not believe that they're going to end up being able to match the physicality, especially with this North Texas run game. I think they're going to be able to run over Temple and be able to win that game. On the road at Tulane, I think is going to be a loss for this North Texas team, as when you take a look at the back half of the schedule, it is brutal. There are a lot of very, very tough games. This 4 to 6 game stretch, if you want to include the front and back end sandwiched in between Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and SMU, is brutal. Tulane, I think, just has too much talent for North Texas. I think that defense is going to be spectacular again. Michael Pratt comes back, even though they are replacing Taji Spears. A lot of weapons surrounding Pratt. Really, really good quarterback. Willie Fritz, a phenomenal coach, one of the favorites in the American Athletic. I don't think North Texas is going to win that one. But I do think they're going to be able to pull out a win against the Memphis Tigers here. Again, Memphis is a team that I see a game being able to sneak up on them, and I think North Texas is a prime candidate to be able to do so. Chandler Rogers should be settled in by this point. He's got a lot of talented weapons at wide receiver. Again, this rushing attack for North Texas should be second to none in the American Athletic, and this could still be a pretty physical team defensively. I think they match up with Memphis well. I think that secondary, if it can be able to slow down Seth Hennigan and company, North Texas offense should be able to do enough to get past this Memphis defense, and I got that as a win as of right now for the North Texas Mean Green. However, I do not think you're going to be beating a team like UTSA. Now, these are two teams that played last year. They played in the American Athletic Conference, and when you think back 2 years ago, North Texas was a team that ruined UTSA's perfect season and possibly a shot at a New Year's Six bowl game in 2021. Feelings have not been forgotten from the Conference USA days. Those are two opponents that really, I think, are going to battle it out, play in a phenomenal game, but ultimately UTSA too much talent. With Frank Harris coming back, even though Zachary Franklin is gone, a lot of talent in that wide receiver room. The defense should be up to par as well. I got them beating North Texas. And then on the road against SMU, I have as a loss for the Mean Green as well. There's a lot of speed on that SMU team. There are a ton of transfers coming in for Rhett Lashley's program, and I think it's going to help SMU out a lot. Now, the key thing is, while they should have it figured out by this point, Tanner Mordecai is gone, so who steps up at the quarterback position for SMU? I think that is the big thing for the Mustangs this season. However, by this point, I think they're going to get a lot figured out. They're going to start to find their groove. Maybe they're on a huge win streak at this point as well. Now, you do get SMU before SMU has to go play on the road against Memphis. Maybe looking ahead, but I don't think so. I think SMU picks up the win against North Texas, and I think that the struggles continue against Tulsa. Tulsa, very interesting team this season. I don't necessarily know what to make of the Golden Hurricane this year. There's a lot of change within that program, most notably at head coach. As you have Kevin Wilson, former Ohio State offensive coordinator, coming in there to coach that team. There's a lot of change, although they do have some good talent. That's a team that I could see being really good, really bad, or anywhere in between, and I've been picking up a win against North Texas here. And then at home against UAB, while the Blazers have some good talent, should be pretty physical defensively, I'm not buying the Trent Dilfer hire or his coaching staff quite yet. Maybe they can prove me wrong. I think UAB will be competitive, will win some games, but not as good as what they have been since they reinstated that football program. So all in all, I got North Texas at 7-5. Pretty good first year for Eric Morris. I think this offense is going to be really good. I think once Chandler Rogers or whoever happens to play at quarterback settles into this system, defense has got a lot of good pieces. This is going to be a good North Texas Mean Green team. Do I think they can compete for the American? No, I think there's only a handful of teams that can do that, but still a solid year one in the American. for the mean green. That'll wrap up my thoughts. Hey, remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see you guys in the next video.